In his role as a senior DevOps engineer at SAP Labs India, our next speaker manages and supports DevOps for SAP ABAP on Cloud Foundry and Kubernetes platform. He is actively involved as community member and speaker with CollabNext, ConfHub, and Cloud Native Data Management. He's a microblogger on many social platforms wherein he posts around best practices, security, and implementation of DevOps tools and technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, with the technology norms and patterns in DevSecOps that keeps changing even while I speak, the question is it all good out there? Or are there some hard facts or ugly truths that come along with it? Let's try to understand this very interesting topic in the form of a very candid conversation featuring none other than Mr. Suman Chakraborty. Suman, we are all waiting to hear from you.
Hi everyone. Hope you are having a good time at the DevOps India Summit 2021. I'll be speaking today on the topic Adopting DevSecOps for Industry 4.0, the good, bad, and the ugly truth. A bit about myself, I'm working as a senior DevOps engineer at SAP Labs India. I have been a speaker at the Open Source Summit, which is from Linux Foundation, HashiTalks, and in the previous edition of DevOps India Summit as well. I'm also an active community member as well as I distribute different topics and speak around that in different meetup groups, which is organized by CollabNext from Docker Bangalore, CNCF Data Management User Group, as well as CNCF Camp Cloud Native. When I'm not talking, I'll be blogging around PaaS, Cloud Native, and serverless technologies. In my free time, I like traveling and I'm a big foodie. So let's get into the topic. So there has been a buzz around Industry 4.0, and we always nowadays hear a lot around these smart cars, intelligent robots, machine learning, augmented reality. Then there are NL, advanced robotics. So Industry 4.0 has taken the whole IT. It's not only an IT, but the whole industry by storm. But before coming into and knowing what Industry 4.0 is all about, let us look a bit into the evolution part. So Industry 4.0 started all the way from the first industrial revolution, where the autonomous work activity moved from the hand to the machine and from the farm to the factory through the introduction of mechanical production facilities using using water and the steam power. While it all started in the late 1800, after 100 years, then the second industrial revolution came, or we called as the Industry 2.0. And this was through the introduction of division of labor and mass production, which was introducing assembly line to make the work more automated. And this was done with the help of electric energy. And this was late in the year 1900. Now, 100 years from there on, the third revolution saw the emergence of electronic circuits, then microchips, PLC that help to automate the overall work process. And that the intention was to reduce the manual effort as much as possible. Now we are in the fourth industrial revolution, or it is also abbreviated as Industry 4.0. This industry, or this area of the revolution, is often termed as the use of cyber physical system, where just like in the previous industry where all the machines were working independently, here all the machines are connected through a common network and protocols. So there is a huge burst of data, mostly the unstructured data, that goes from machine to machine and even from machine to the end users. And so naturally, if we see, the degree of complexity also rises from the Industry 1.0 to Industry 4.0. Now, what Industry 4.0 offers? So if we look into the technology pillars, Industry 4.0 is well surrounded with the latest and emerging technologies that include cybersecurity, cloud computing, mobile technologies, 3D printing, advanced robotics, big data, Internet of Things, and so on. So, in all of these pillars of this technology that is encompassing the Industry 4.0, the one common factor is the data and the way how the data is being accessed. Since there is a technology outburst, so naturally there has to be a workflow of how this particular data has to be handled. And when we talk about handling the data, so the security comes into the picture. So let us look into the challenges of how this data can be handled in the from the Industry 4.0 perspective. The evolution of the technological capabilities has basically increased the attack surface area as threat agents started multiplying in number in terms of the capability. The emerging technologies such as the advanced robotics, the ML, then the IoT involves processing data in larger data sets. As I already discussed, these data sets are mostly unstructured, and because the machines that would be processing would be quite autonomous in nature, so we need to identify the best practice in implementing a left shift approach to identify the misconfigurations within the applications and identifying the security flaw as early as possible on a pipeline stage. The third thing being that we not only implement security in the pipeline or in the development workflow, but this security has all need also to be extended in ensuring that the application images, which are kind of like containerized, because all the present day microservices that are being deployed are using this capability of this emerging technologies, and so mostly they are deployed in and around the containers. And so these images are stored in certain artifacts, or we call a certain registry. So there has to be a proper way to identify vulnerabilities in those registry, so as to make sure that whenever those applications are used in the developer workflow, it basically gives less pain point, it gives less attack or pain to the developers, since they don't need to identify something and correct their code as and when it is required. So before moving into the DevSecOps part, let us try to understand the thin difference between the DevOps and the DevSecOps. So when we look into the overall perspective, DevSecOps is nothing. It is basically managing the development operations and the application delivery together, together with the use of security. So security becomes a prime factor because it is encompassing all these three areas of management, and that basically brings about the confidentiality, availability, and integrity around the platform through which we are managing the DevSecOps. Now, DevSecOps has certain governing principles. It basically lays down 7 principles to manage and maintain the complete dev and ops workflow so as to increase the collaboration within the Industry 4.0 framework. First of all, it removes the bottlenecks, that is, including the manual effort in managing the different tasks along the pipeline. Second is automating as much as of the development and deployment activity as possible so that the chance of having manual error gets reduced. Adopting a common set of tools that would be helped to plan the requirements of how we can secure each and every stage of our development pipeline while deploying an application of services for the Industry 4.0. Leveraging the agile software principle and favoring only small incremental and frequent updates rather than having a larger updates. So this way it will becomes easy to easily identify and diagnose issues, and that can also be corrected before it actually goes, or it becomes a very big issue, or once the application gets actually deployed in the environment. Then we need to also apply the cross-functional skills of development, cyber security, and operations throughout the entire SDLC processes, so that each of these stages can be continuously monitored and subsequently can be managed by the people or the personnel who is actually managing the complete workflow. And then the next is security risk of the underlying infrastructure must be measured and quantified so that we can understood, or we can evaluate what are the total risk and impact in running a software application on our environment. And since, as I was mentioning, that the emergence of these technologies have shown the use of microservices, so most of the application are deployed as containers. So it is very much needed that we try to move away from the traditional way of managing applications to the way of managing this set of application code inside the containers. So we discuss about DevSecOps. We discuss some of the principles around the DevSecOps. Now let us see what is the good side of having the DevSecOps for Industry 4.0 framework. So first thing, to understand that, we have to understand in a normal DevOps workflow, what happens actually, we try to introduce security towards the extreme right. Once the code is being pushed, it is built, a set of tests has run, and then we introduce certain checks that basically include checks on the configuration, checks whether there are any missing libraries or not, do certain static analysis on the particular code, and also we try to perform some image scanning and dynamic analysis. Now since the industries that would be working on this particular industry 4.0 framework would be using or would be manufacturing data at a larger scale, we need to basically enable DevSecOps here. That would basically help to automate the whole security process, starting from as left as possible. That means introducing the security towards the extreme left, right from the area where developer pushes the code into his system, and from there it gets checked in into a source control repository. So the perspective here is clear that using DevSecOps, we don't want to get into any false positives or alarms that can actually add to the delay in the development lifecycle, as well as we automate the whole process as simply as possible so that it become easy not only for the DevOps person but also for other people like the developers, the analysts, to manage the complete pipeline. So it requires scaling this SecDevOps so as to enable security champions within the development team, they who can better assist the DevOps person who are actually managing the development pipeline. Now let us look into one of the use case of how the AI/ML can be used on DevSecOps platform. So when we think about deploying an application as a microservice, we start from the very scratch where we have a bare metal provision, that is provision, and on top of that we deploy a hypervisor that can be from any managed cloud provider, or we deploy a container engineering layer that can be powered using Docker, Apache Mesos, Swarm, anything. And on top of that we have a orchestrator tool such as like Kubernetes, which can manage the complete deployment of the application, obviously on a CI/CD environment. Now once we have this environment ready, then we can basically set up the DevSecOps tooling layer. DevSecOps tooling layer is nothing but a set of common tools that can work seamlessly for multiple technologies, so that we don't have to change the pattern much as required. And on top of that we basically deploy our ML pipeline layer. So ML pipeline is something where the advanced analytics would be introduced so that we can predict by analyzing the data that what would be the deviation that can come because of certain code changes, and we can correct based on that. Let us look a little bit more into the pipelining layer, into the actual DevSecOps, how it can be influenced using the AI/ML workflow. So if we look into this diagram, so primarily this is something a very model way of how we can approach into an AI/ML based solution. So we have the sensors. So right, the sensors are basically pulling the data from the planning and development, building and testing phase, and where this data is coming, this data is being supplied by the project team who want to build and deploy and run the applications. Now this comes as a set of requirements, and these requirements are fed into these three different models, that is a planning, development, building and testing. And the sensors basically evaluate this data from the actual physical environment. Let's say it is kind of some some data to detect the environment temperature. Based on that, certain actions has to be triggered. Then it would basically sense the physical environment, how it is, and based on that it would try to check what is the raw data that is being passed. And then there are the three different models, which is monitoring, operate and deploy, which feeds the output of the analysis that the sensor does. So sensor basically senses the real time data, and then it matches with the raw data that is being fed, and then it is being sent to the monitor and operate and deploy. While one end of the data also goes to the risk analysis model. So here is where the data would be parsed, because we consider that when we are dealing with large volumes of data, so these are kind of like big data, and so there has to be a model which can parse the data into a proper format and evaluate the risk that can involve into it. And this are basically done using a model analytic engine where these data sets are fed. So this analytics engine basically draws out certain hypothetical pattern based on what would be the probable scenario if this particular data gets changed. And in this particular phase, it also evaluates what are the risks that would be involved in evaluating this data. And this is then fed into the DevSecOps master model, through which it basically tunes the tools that would be needed to undergo in managing this particular data in the DevSecOps configurator, and then it is fed back into the planning and development phase. So it is a continuous loop where the data gets analyzed based on the real-time environment, gets fed into the risk analysis model. From there, a set of analytics engine tries to take the outcome of the probable risk that can be associated while deploying this particular application, configures or fine tunes the available DevSecOps tools, and then redeploys the data back into the environment. So when we are talking a lot on the DevSecOps tool, so we also need to understand that in the present environment, what are the available tools that we can basically work with. So if we see in the continuous integration, the continuous delivery pipeline, the tooling set can be divided into four different categories that can come from the time the code is checked from the local development system to a source code repository, then to the build, to the deploy, and to the release part. So into the if you look into the code commit part, so there are set of IDE plugins which has to be monitored certain open source tools such as provided by JFrog or Sync, which can identify any known vulnerabilities in the plugins that are used in the development environment. Also, there are certain secret management tools such as HashiCorp Vault or Secret Manager, which basically help us to store the secret data of their application instead of passing them directly into the configuration. That also similarly pre-commit hooks does from the Git perspective. Then into the build part, where we do a static analytical security testing of the code. We have different other tools such as Black Duck or again Sync that can analyze whether there are any raw vulnerabilities there that is there in the code, because this is kind of an white box testing where we have the common configurations available, and then there would be a set of functional tests that identify whether there are common flaws that are introduced which could be corrected. Once it is then deploy once then it is taken and put it into the deployment phase, then we have a set of tools which would be monitoring the application side during the runtime, and that is being provided by the dynamic application security testing tools such as Rapid, Acunes, Contracts, which tries to identify whether there are any vulnerabilities introduced in the runtime, because this is again kind of testing which depends on the type of deployment strategy that has been created for that particular application. Based on that, there can be other set of tools which would be taking care at different aspects. Let's say, for example, identifying whether there are any common vulnerabilities introduced into the environment. So docscan can basically identify, if it is a Docker environment, identify whether there are set of any open vulnerabilities that can be mitigated, and this is compared against a known benchmark standard which is provided by the Center of Information Security and Standard, CIS benchmark tool. Also, there are certain compliance tool which checks for key auditing like Chef Inspect and Server Spec that can identify whether there are certain policies which are violating the standard auditing rules that are being that has created for this particular application deployment. And then once it gets deployed into the environment, then the next thing comes about how we can monitor the application and how we can ensure that the application can be securely accessible and only the set of defined ports are open for the end users. So that's why we have the monitoring tools provided by Datadog, Nagios, or Performs, and also we perform. So we also have to see how resilient is our system, or the system on which the application is running. So we run certain set of chaos tools that is provided by Gremlin, Chaos Toolkit, and also in the same process we identify the vulnerability management that can come during this kind of testing. So if we look from the overall perspective in the DevSecOps, so it's combining both the DevOps and the DevSecOps based approach in ensuring that our data gets deployed seamlessly with as much as security enhancement that can be introduced in the complete pipeline strategy. So we talked about the good thing about how DevSecOps basically helps in impending some common issues in managing this huge volumes of data that are being managed in the Industry 4.0 framework with different set of technologies. Now there are also challenges in implementing DevSecOps, which are termed as a bad side. First thing is, since we have a wide range of tools, so we have to actually identify that what set of tools would ideally suit and help us to identify the fragmented and dispersed data modeling that is there in this kind of technologies. Secondly, the data is very much heterogeneous in nature, and so this often leads to certain white spot in code processing and shipping, which can also lead to an increase in the attack area. So we have to identify these areas and take action as quickly as possible. The AutoML tools also process huge amount of dynamic data, and because the training model needs to be validated, it needs to be dynamically updated every time with new sets of data every time. So there requires a big amount of computing power in terms of the required GPU and TPU availability, which results in re-architecting your platform. So if we start with, let's say, two machine, we may need to scale up to 6 to 8 machines depending about the amount of data that is being processed for analysis. Since much of the trend model is created from the raw data, so if even if the real world value doesn't match to the data model, it can also lead to a delay in the stream processing and requiring more computational power. Securities issues also gets introduced here because of using some third party elements, like we use open source tools, but then again these open source tools might be using or calling certain internal libraries which are not being scanned or which are not conformed to the actual standard, and this can introduce certain security flaws in the pipeline. So if we see in implementing the DevSecOps, we have to see that there is almost an 80% overhead when we derive in how we can basically manage the application right from the time it is pushed into the code site to the source code repository in, and then it goes from the build, deploy, and the release cycle, because there is a sufficient amount of changes that is needed, and these changes are nothing but the changes required in identifying the vulnerabilities as close to the possible from the system side. Then we talked about some of the challenges. Well, there are also limitations, which actually is the ugly side of using DevSecOps on the Industry 4.0 framework. First is that it is difficult to adopt DevSecOps in a highly regulated or a air-gapped environment. So so implementing this huge infrastructure requires sufficient investment, and for companies like, say, startups who have very minimal requirements to start with, for them it may become difficult because they cannot regulate all of these tasks in a air gapped environment or where they might not have enough resources. Knowledge gap in security on the latest Industry 4.0 framework also is a limitation. So we have seen that people who are managing this set of applications, they actually lack the real time security knowledge, and so proper education training is needed for the same. Developers lacking the security skills, since most of the data sets that are handled are by the data scientist or the research analyst, etc., who doesn't have much information on the DevOps side implementations. Insider threats that can automatically come if someone is not so knowledgeable and try to implement some solutions that can create certain open end open end within the code that is getting deployed. So the final thought, where we are actually heading. Well, Industry 4.0 has revolutionized the way how we actually deal or interact with the machines, because here we are dealing with not only machine to end user communication, it's all about how the machines are connecting with themselves using the different set of advanced protocols, such as that is Zigbee protocols, NFC protocols, even the 5G that is coming in, that is so giving much superior data and giving a seamless user experience for the end users. So this amount of implementation requires having an advanced DevOps automation to be deployed in the deployment lifecycle. For the mature DevOps shop of the future to remain competitive, it is very much needed that we make the best use of data from the backend systems in the tool chain and also implement the container vulnerability scanning process. Security is everyone's responsibility in this case, and the idea here is to introduce it at the left as much as possible so that we can identify the flaws to the maximum. A move towards the more secreted automated process is a progressive way where we can consider that how we can better secure our pipeline, so that as companies, as end user, we can realize our complete digital transformation ambitions. Organizations just cannot follow the traditional way of deployment on the industry 4.0 arena, because this would also lead to a lot of issues specifically for managing the security, and this is not the way how we would be moving forward. These are some of the references which I used in shaping my talk, and that's it. This is my end of the talk, and I'm now open to questions. I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.